So I'm doing some testing on the ATN X-sight 4K 5-20 with the ATN ABL 1500, and I wanted to make sure that it actually retained zero. So I zeroed it yesterday, so that was my first range trip with it. This is my second range trip with it, and it maintained zero, so that's good. I'm going to bring it out to a few more range visits, multiple days apart, and just, treat the gun as I normally would. And we'll see if it holds zero. That's what's most important to me for a scope like this. But it's got some pretty incredible features for the price point. I'm really stoked about, playing with this thing. That target's only 100 yards away. This is about the limit of the light that comes with this. However, when I use this light, that cow right there at about 150, easy peasy to see. Now back to the wood line. Sorry, I'm kind of bleeding myself out because I'm doing this with one hand. Zoom that out some. That wood line right there is about 270 yards. And then over here far right, that is 300 yards. So basically, as long as you've got a bright enough IR flashlight, you can see. I'm doing this kind of ghetto right now because I got the flashlight in my hand, rifle in the other, and I'm only on 5x zoom right now too. But we got cows, rocks, more cows, more cows. Alright, but that's about where I project to see coyotes, right in there, because their den is off to the right in through there. So these were the results of today's range visit using the ATN X-sight Pro 4K 5-20. So keep in mind, yesterday I zeroed the scope at 50 yards. So today at 100 yards, whenever this was my point of aim, my point of impact was up here. That makes sense. So that it makes sense that my point of impact was up here because I zeroed it at 50 yards and you have height over bore, and that's how that works. So I immediately transitioned after that shot to this target and fired one shot at this target and had a similar result. So then I decided to adjust the scope. I made an adjustment on the scope, and after making that adjustment, I fired a shot. The shot felt a little bit low left. It impacted over here. When I broke the shot, it felt bad. So I fired another one for good measure. And then I went to shoot a 3-round group during the daytime, 1, 2, and 3. And that's I don't know, like maybe a 1-inch group, probably less. And then I waited until it was so dark I could no longer see my target. And then I fired one shot with the IR illuminator on and one shot with it off. So far, I'm extremely impressed, and I hope to replicate these results for the next 5 range visits, and then I would, trust it pretty heavily. I intend on taking it out to some longer ranges and using the ABL and the ballistic software in the scope. So stay tuned.